Research Institute says engineering and business majors have the most chance of landing a job in today's competitive market, but these people are still out there, and these college students are still out there trying to get these bachelor's and master's degrees in underwater ancient European art. So, no, I know there's some people. I probably shouldn't have said it, but I know there's some people in Rush Limbaugh's Real Linda that think that that's a real degree. No, I'm being facetious about that. But look, a degree in international women's studies is a real degree, by the way, in some colleges in this land. And that's why I say what I say when I say the underwater European ancient art degree, because it's a, the woman's international women's studies degree has about as much worth as the fake degree I just said. Now, despite the recent news in a survey of employers last fall, the Employment Center found that hiring of graduates will rise 16% this year. Well, what does that mean? 16%? So what's that going to bring the unemployment rate for those college grads to? I don't know. Maybe part of the reason that unemployment for recent grads is so high is because so many of them have these stupid, fake, meaningless, worthless degrees. And maybe some of these kids are actually paying attention and saying, well, you know what? I need a real degree. I'm going to actually have to study a real discipline in order to get a real job. So maybe, we're going to see more engineers graduating. So with a real engineering degree, so they'll be more marketable. So employers will want them because, I don't know an employee that's going to want all that other kind of fake graduate crap. Employers have complained about this. Hey, these graduates, they don't know anything. They spend all this time and all this money and they think they know something and they know jack. So you have these, these minds full of mush that get scammed into spending all this money for these fake degrees. Now, I don't know why they just don't, colleges don't offer, the good old fashioned real degrees that have real world applications. I mean, well, I do know because, they're indoctrinating these kids is what they're doing. And it is easier to indoctrinate on something that they cannot compare it to. So if you have a degree in underwater ancient European art, well, what are you going to compare that to? There's nothing out there. But if you have a particular engineering degree or a particular business degree, well, there's something that they can compare it to. Yeah, and I'm meaning real life attributes, real life comparisons. So a business major, well, there are certain disciplines in business, so people can compare. Well, this person, made this kind of money because he had a degree in this type of business major, and they have to comply and believe in such a manner that business will accept them. But if there's nobody out there hiring for underwater ancient European art, then they can teach whatever they want and indoctrinate a college student into believing whatever that professor or group of professors want that student to believe. Plain and simple. It's not difficult to understand why they would do such a thing. It's not difficult at all. But it's a scam. It is a scam. It's a huge scam. It's a big education scam. Plain and simple. But the article goes on to say, indeed, the consulting and accounting firm EY, I don't know who EY is, plans to hire 9,000 graduates from U.S. universities this year, up from 7,500 in 2014. That might be due mainly to a bunch of people retiring as well. But again, is that going to make up for 2 points? Is that 16% increase going to make up for 2 points that were lost? Now, I know some of you are saying, well, it's 16%, Rod. That means that there'll be no unemployment for them, right? No, you don't understand how this math works then. In other words, it's only a rise of 16% over the amount of people that are currently hired this year, or that were currently hired, or that were hired last year. So in other words, a 16% rise is basically going from 7,500 to 9,000. That's the rise. Is that going to impact that 2 points? Are we going to get back down to 10.9% off of that 16% rise? No. No, that's not enough there. That's like, saying that people, the unemployment rate in Rio Linda, Rush Limbaugh's Rio Linda is only, is under 6%, when we still know that it's in double digits, over 10%, because we're looking at the U6 numbers and we're counting all the people who could get a job or who are employable but can't find one, so they stop looking for a while. We can also look at the numbers and the rise in the number of people who are getting government assistance in one form or another that before did not qualify because they were what? Actually contributing and working and earning a living. Now, I know that some of that is due to the government raising the base level of what it takes to get government assistance, but at the same time, there's more people out there who qualify simply because they don't have a job, because the unemployment rate is still over 10%. So we have all these graduates that can't get a job because many of them, a good bulk of that 12.4%, have these so-called fake degrees that nobody understands or needs. I'm talking business. Now, I often say, well, if you can't find a job, create one. But it might be a little bit difficult to find clients and customers who need your expertise in underwater ancient European art. Or, if you want to talk about a real discipline, if you want to call it a discipline, international women's studies. You got a master's degree in international women's studies. Great. What does that allow you to do? How can you market that kind of a degree? Who needs that type of a degree? Well, maybe the United Nations, the UN might hire you, but, hey, there's only so many of those jobs available. And we're not talking hundreds. You're probably lucky if there's single-digit openings in that type of, with that the need for that type of degree on an annual basis. Speaking of jobs, though, we have another story here. And this is, again, the great scam artist from Barack Obama and his co-scammers that believe in so-called man-made global warming or global climate change. And this is from the Washington Times, and the headline is Obama's climate change rules could kill nearly 300,000 jobs. Does a report. 300,000 jobs could be lost to climate change rules. Now, basically, it starts off that the fate of President Obama's climate change plans now rests with 3 judges who heard oral arguments earlier today in a case that will decide whether the Environmental Protection Agency can move ahead with historic limits on power plant emissions. The monumental case came before a federal appeals court on the same day new data was released showing the EPA regulations could lead directly to the loss of nearly 300,000 jobs. So if Obama gets his scammable regulations, his scamming regulations, we could see 300,000 jobs evaporate. Now, understand, they're talking about industry jobs, which will then have a direct and indirect effect on other industries that revolve around or depend upon the energy producing, like coal plants industry. And here, look, with the falling, let me give you an example. We have falling oil prices. And of course, that is kind of being led by Saudi Arabia and OPEC, trying to force the price of, a barrel of crude oil down. And what is happening with the value of crude oil dropping? Sure, we're getting low gas prices, and that's good for us to a point. But what we're realizing is that it's also devaluing and lowering the potential and profitability to recoup costs of drilling and getting the oil that we've been getting here in this country. So we've already seen, and I'm surprised we haven't heard that. Well, we haven't heard it. I know why we haven't heard it. We haven't heard it because if the American people actually knew this statistic, they would be, flabbergasted by it. But we've lost, since this decline in the value of crude has started, we've lost 100,000 jobs in the oil industry in this country. And as long as the price stays below a certain benchmark, and I think that benchmark is $70 a barrel. Today it was around $55 a barrel. We're going to continue to lose more jobs. Now, you have to understand that the states that are heavily dependent on this stuff now, because it was a booming industry, like the Dakotas and Montana, and even parts of Texas and other oil refining industries in states and areas are going to be affected by this. Now, just think if you lost 20,000 jobs in South Dakota, how is that going to affect the overall economy of that state? Well, it's going to be pretty devastating. Because that's, 20,000 jobs, it's income. One, the state isn't getting any taxes from. In fact, in some cases, well, they're paying out because they're going to be paying, like unemployment insurance claims. And they're going to be paying, there's going to be payouts for government assistance like food stamps and things like that. And not to mention, housing is going to be devalued because, hey, people aren't around that can afford to buy or rent, right? So a lot of people are going to lose more than this 100,000 if this continues. Now, it's mixed feelings, obviously, because we all like gas prices at being down at $2 to $2.25 a gallon instead of at $3 a gallon. But we have to understand that there's a cause and effect. Well, hello. If there's a cause and effect for having, lower gas prices, we're to the tune of 100,000 jobs and counting, how is it that it's not going to be the reverse or the same type of effect by increasing business cost? So if the oil industry needs 70, let's just use I think it's $70 a barrel. If they need $70 a barrel in order to keep the current boom, if you will, going and people employed, because that is the cost of doing business and breaking even, is at $70 a barrel. Well, what happens when you start raising minimum wage on people? Well, now the cost of breaking even for that business goes up as well. Well, if you don't have people that can afford that new break-even cost, what's going to happen to the business? Well, they're going to lose business. Well, what's going to happen to the employees? They're going to have to let employees go. Hello? I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this stuff out. But you would think that these people have scammed the American people so bad and for so long that it's difficult for some people to fully understand the facts that are before them. It is so hard. Look, they've been scammed. These kids have been scammed to get these fake degrees that when they get out of college, they expect to have these six-figure jobs. But hey, the degree is worthless. You're told that we can't drill our way to prosperity and success and independence, but we did. But when we did that, our so-called friends drive down the price below what it takes for us to break even so we can keep all these people employed and keep growing the economy and keep people paying into the system. No, this starts to reverse. And then we got these idiots out there who are talking about, well, we need to raise the minimum wage. Well, raising the cost of the baseline, the break even of businesses. And we're expecting nothing to change because that's what we're told.